Good morning, everyone. While we're waiting for folks to get in and get settled, can somebody give me a thumbs up if you can hear me? Okay, thank you. We'll get started in just a second. Okay, it looks like most everybody has been able to get in and get connected for sound this morning. So we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you to everybody who's joining us this morning. I am Laura Mallory, and I am one of the co-deputy directors here at the Division of Early Childhood Care and Development. And with me this morning, we have Angela Crockett, my other co-deputy director. She is also here with me. Dr. Allgood is not able to join us today, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to let people in and talk at the same time. Angela, I'm just gonna let you take over the waiting room piece.
I get it.
We do still have people that are joining as we're talking. So I was getting distracted with that. So I apologize. I don't think that Vicki is going to be able to join us today either, but if she pops in at any point, I'm sure she will like to say hello to everybody. But in the meantime, Angela and I are going to walk you all through the information that we have to share today. So we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, first thing is we have had two of the town hall meetings that have focused on feedback about quality and quality systems and quality programming and needs that exist around the state with providers. And I have attended both of those. They have been very interesting, and I have really enjoyed being able to hear what you all as providers have been sharing in these meetings. It's been really interesting and really exciting also to hear the kinds of feedback and to know that we are moving forward in a way that is going to meet your needs that you all are reporting to us. So if you've attended one of the first two that we've had, thank you very much. We really appreciate your effort and attention to be there. I know that they were one was at night and one was on a Saturday, and so neither one of those times are optimal, but sometimes that's all the time we can squeeze in. So thank you if you've already been able to attend one of them. There is another two more meetings this week, actually. The next meeting is tomorrow from 12 to 2. I will post the link to register in the chat so that if you have not registered and are interested in that, you can get that done. I'll post that here in just a few minutes. Also, there is one on Saturday from 9 to 11. Next week, there's one on the 9th in the evening from 6 to 8, and then another one on the 11th from 9 to 11. And the questions and the format and the information is the same for all of the meetings. So you can just pick one that fits your schedule if any of these do, and you can just attend any of the ones. You don't need to feel like you have to attend the whole series. You're certainly welcome to come to more than one, but the information and the questions and the process will be exactly the same for all of the meetings. But like I said, they have been very interesting. We've gotten a lot of great feedback. We've had a lot of really good participation. There is some information that's shared by Dr. Allgood, but the bulk of it is us seeking information from participants. And so participants have been able to voice a lot of interesting things to us, and it's been very exciting. So if any of these fit with your schedule, we really want to encourage you to try to attend and let us know how we can help you best through those quality programs. There we go. I'll get that link posted in just a second. Okay. So I hope that there's trumpets and a marching band outside wherever you are. But the Childcare Strong funding application is live. It went live about 7:30 this morning, and I already had completed applications by 7:45. So folks have been getting their applications completed and submitted to us this morning, and we've already started to look at those. So just wanted to draw your attention to it if you were not aware already that the application is live on the website. It is available in English, Spanish, and Vietnamese. And here is the link for the applications. This is just our general Childcare Strong website. It's not a specific application link. It just takes you to our Childcare Strong website, which we will look at together in a minute. In addition to the applications being open, there is an application guide that walks you through what each one of the questions is looking for, just to help make sure yours are as successful as possible. So we'll look at the application together here in just a few minutes, and I will walk you all through what each of those questions is looking for. As I said, it opened about 7:30 this morning, and by 7:45 we had several completed submissions. So that should tell you it does not take long at all to complete this application. Any questions about the application process for Childcare Strong funding? We have a dedicated email address that gets you to the people with the answers the fastest, and that is childcarestrong@mdhs.ms.gov. We've shared this before, but just want to make sure that if it is anything to do with Childcare Strong, the application or the funding, any of those questions or requests for assistance should go to Childcare Strong. It gets you right to the folks with all of the information, and gets us able to answer your question faster. Okay. Childcare Strong requires a direct deposit. All of the funds are released through direct deposit. None of the funds are going to be released through paper check. And so we have been working here, we've been encouraging providers to get this set up ahead of the application time, and some folks have. And we have encountered a couple of things that we thought we should bring to the group today to discuss. Angela is going to sort of walk through what we're looking at here and direct you to a couple of things that maybe can help clarify the process a little bit and answer some questions that you have. So I'm going to turn it over to Angela. She'll come off mute here in just a second, and she'll explain to you what we're looking at with direct deposit.
Good morning, everyone. We have been getting a lot of calls in regards to some of you who are having trouble with direct deposit. So I kind of want to give you just an overview of what we have found. And I've had two wonderful providers send me their screen. So we could kind of see what you see, because we don't have access to your portal. But you are going to register with FIS, and you'll see on the screen, it says active, and then it has something under the bottom of it. You'll need to go back into your portal and see if you have a message that says that although it's active, some information that you provided for your checking account or your routing number, I'm not sure, your name. We've had several things that happen. It seems to be everyone's name, but it might tell you that it's invalid. And so it was two pieces of documents that I received from a provider. But you want to make sure you go back and look and see if you have this message on your on your portal, because if you do, everything that you might have done with FIS/regions, for us, when I go in and look to validate if a provider has successfully completed the direct deposit registration process, I'm going to see the same thing you see in this portal, which would be invalid or pending. And so some of you have had, you would go from active, registered to pending. And if you're going to pending, and you might be in pending a very long time because they're waiting on you to submit something, I don't know what that is. I can't tell you. You will need to contact FIS. So you want to make sure that you are looking at that portal. The second thing that, can you go to the next one, Laura? The next one is that a lot of providers are calling. They're saying, hey, I have a letter that says I successfully registered, but if you look on down, it has pending status on it as well. So you want to go back and look at it. So you might be registered, but we're looking for an active registered provider. That's the only way your information is going to transfer over into our system in order to get direct deposit. So I really want to make sure that that's something that you guys go back and look for. The other issues that I've noticed, you could go off that screen, Laura, and go back to the other one. A couple of other issues that might be an issue, and I'll just give you an example. I have, let's say, as I was growing up, my name was always taught to be spelled Angelia, but when I looked at my birth certificate, it was Angela. And so I'm saying that to say, if you have apostrophe in your name on your bank account, but it's not listed on when you get your check, if you think about how your check is written from our office, if it does not match your banking information for your bank, then that might be why you're having issues. Now, the good thing is if it's a banking name issue, where it's maybe an apostrophe or letter, a number, or LLC, or whatever, you can send that information to our office to CC Payment and put your provider ID number and give me the correct way that's supposed to be spelled for your banking information. And I can correct that and send that spreadsheet on, and they'll update it and you won't have to do anything. But if it's anything else outside of that, a routing number or a banking issue of that such, I can't help you, and you will need to contact FIS. So that's one of the other things. The other one that I've noticed that has happened, many of you might have registered your comprehensive number instead of the number that is attached to your certificates. And so if you have received a confirmation that you have direct deposit, that might be one of the other issues that you might have. And we can check that. And if it is, then there's some instructions that I can email you that will allow you to just connect those two, and you won't have to do anything else. So if you have an invalid, a pending, please go back in and check your direct deposit portal for FIS, because that will be where you would know if that information is not successful. We also are having people send us your checking account information. Please don't do that. We're not even going to touch it. We're deleting it immediately. You will have to be registered through the portal. So if you did not receive a letter from us, or you maybe overlooked it, we sent letters out on June 1st for direct deposit, and we resent them on November 16th. So if you could go back and look, they came from CC Payment with your information on it, along with your code. Also, my last thing is, you do not have to bank with Regions to do direct deposit. We're getting a lot of calls of people saying they don't want to change banks. You do not have to change your bank. Regions and FIS is just a way for us to pay you, not that you have to go and get a bank account through them. So you can keep your bank. The last and final question that we had was, can we have multiple bank accounts? And the answer is no. You can only register. We can't send one to your childcare payments to one account, and then you want your child strong payments to go to another. It all has to be one, because we want to be able to look and see what that is. So I hope that answers some of your questions, and it is helpful to get this situation kind of cleared up so we can get people registered, completely registered. My staff does have an updated list of everybody who has, so I'll check it daily. So if you want us to check it, we can check it to see if you were successful. But right now, we do have a lot of invalid and pending providers for direct deposit. That's it.
Angela, if they have questions, or they want to reach out about direct deposit, what's the best way for them to do that, to get answers from that, if they need them from our office?
The 1-800 number, or they can send an email to CC Payment. We are really have a lot of calls. So if you send an email, they'll forward it to me and I can look it up and respond to you. But that would be the best way. So either one.
Okay. Great, thank you. Okay, Angela, I'm gonna let you take back over on the participant side, and I'll keep moving forward with the information.
Got it.
Okay. So the Childcare Strong application that is in English, it will take you to a DocuSign process where it's a little more automated. It's not very pretty, but it's a little bit more automated. What I'm going to show you today is what that automation pulls from. So we're going to look at all of the questions together in the application that's required for submission. So I'll show that to you all here. Okay, can you all see this this new document on the screen? How about now? Okay. Okay, so these are the questions that are included in the application. This is the application in its entirety. So we'll take a look at it together, and that way, if there are any questions that are specific to the application, you all can post them in the chat. And as we're moving through feel free to post questions that you have. We will, if at the end, if we have not run out of time, we will answer any that have not been addressed already. But I want to remind you folks that this is being recorded, and we will share this recording with you. The guide that shares all of the information that I'm getting ready to share with you is already posted on the internet for you to have and look at it anytime also. So I just want to remind you about that resource as well. So the first question that is included in the application is whether or not you are currently an approved provider with the Mississippi Child Care Payment Program. And the DocuSign automated application asks questions in a specific order to help alert you when your responses indicate that you are not eligible for funding based on the federal criteria. So the order of the questions may seem a little wonky, but there is a little bit of logic to it to help ensure that you don't get all the way to the end and submit an application and then find out that you aren't eligible because you don't meet the federal criteria. So the online application is designed to let you know when your responses have indicated that according to what the federal the language in the act from the federal guidance indicates that you are not eligible. So that's why these things are in the order that they are in. So as you all know, the Mississippi Child Care Payment Program is the child care subsidy program. And so if you are able to log in to the portal, whether you have an active certificate or not, if you have gone through the process and you have been approved and are still an active provider with us. So that's why I say if you're able to log into the provider portal, you're still an active provider. And then you can indicate yes to this question. And then if the answer is no, it's going to ask you if you are licensed or registered with the Mississippi Department of Health on or before March 11th, 2021. Again, those are the eligibility requirements. And so that's why they're going ahead to ask you this up front. And then depending on your answer there, you'll move forward, or it'll let you know that you don't meet the criteria to continue with the application. That criteria, as a reminder, is available in a decision tree that is on the Child Care Strong website. Right under the application, there's a series of statements that have light blue or teal check marks next to them, and that information is in those check marks for you there. It'll ask you for your provider or your business name. You will want to put this information exactly as it appears on your license or your registration with the Department of Health. That is the database of record that we are matching everything against. And so if there's anything that differs from the way that the Department of Health has you either licensed or registered, then we will have to push the application back for corrections. So you want to make sure that you are entering your business name or your provider name the same way that you are licensed or registered with the Department of Health. And then the provider or business address indicates the address where the care is being provided. Again, it should be the same address that the Department of Health has for you. The next question just asks the name of the person who is completing the application. And then according to our federal guidance, we are required to ask the race, ethnicity, and gender of the business owner. If the director is a different person than the owner, again, the question that we're being asked to report on is about the business owner. So these questions are here because we were required to ask them. We do have to report on this information to our funders on a monthly basis. So that's why these questions are in here. Your next question is going to ask you for your provider license number on your child care license. And if you are unlicensed, then you will enter in your provider ID that you have here as your approved child care payment program provider ID number that you use to access the provider portal to submit your ledgers. The next question asks about the type of provider that is completing the application, whether that's a licensed provider, a license exempt provider, or the two types of care providers that can provide care in their own home. One of them is a relative provider where one or all of the children that are receiving care in the provider's home are related to the provider. That's the in-home relative provider. The in-home non-relative provider is a provider type where the provider provides care and offers child care services through their home, but they are not related to any of the children. So you would select the provider type that meets, that best describes your program. And then you will enter in the provider capacity that is on your license from the Mississippi Department of Health. Or if you are license exempt, the capacity that you are allowed to serve based on your organization that you are affiliated with. And then if you are unlicensed, then you must enter 5 in that space because that's the maximum number of children that you are allowed to care for. The next question that we're asking is about provider status, full-time or part-time. In the guide, this describes this for you as well in case you get confused about this. For the purposes of this application, a full-time provider is a provider that offers childcare services for 6 or more hours, at least 5 days a week between the months of December and May. A part-time provider is someone that offers childcare services for fewer than 6 hours, 5 or fewer days a week between the months of December and May. Again, that definition is in the guide, the application guide for you if you need to print that and have that with you when you go to complete your application. The next question asks you to select any of these conditions that apply to your program. This is where we're looking at which of the bonus funds you would be eligible for. If your license or registration number with the Department of Health indicates that you serve children with special needs, it must be indicated in your license or registration number, then you can select that box. If your license or registration number with the Department of Health indicates that you provide 24-hour care, you may select that box. And then if you are a CCDF approved provider with the Child Care Payment Program, you can select that box. We will be checking against our database to make sure that everybody checked all the appropriate boxes that they should. But it's helpful if you can go ahead and indicate any that you know are already applied to your program. The application then will ask you if you have completed the registration process for direct deposit of funding. Angela discussed earlier the difference between having a successful completion of registration and the difference between that and an active direct deposit account. So for the purposes of the application, they're just asking you to have started the registration process, to have completed the registration for direct deposit funding. The application will give you a message if you select no. It will give you this message here in bold that says, please stop, go to the website, look at what you need to do to get that registration process, and then come back and complete your application. So they want you to have started that registration process, to have submitted the information for verification for direct deposit. Okay, all this is pretty easy. You guys rattle that stuff off all the time about your program. None of that should have been overwhelming. Now we're going to look at the planned use of funding. These are the allowable expense categories that were in the act. We are required to report what you all say in this application to the feds, but I want to stress that you are not locked into any response that you give about your planned use of funding in this application. This is just a way for our funders to get projected uses of funding. If in the end, when you apply, if you select that you are going to, that you have a plan to use some of these funds for mental health supports, and then ultimately you do not end up expending any dollars for mental health supports, that's okay. You're not locked into any of the choices that you make in the application. Again, this is just a question that we have to report on to our federal funders, and they just want a sense of what your plans are because they're being asked by lawmakers how programs will be using the funds. And so that's the purpose for that question. You can select one or multiple answers here. So do not be nervous about your response here and you being committed to that. If you need to change in order to best meet the needs of your operation, you certainly can do so. The online application then asks you to look at your estimated monthly base rate. I have put it out here in a formula. The online application does the calculation for you, but I put it out here in a formula just so that we could have this discussion today. On our website, there is the chart that shows you what your per child rate will be based on your capacity for care and whether you're a full-time or part-time program. And so you will, in the application, enter that per child rate into the application. The application will look at the provider capacity that you have already entered into the application and will then reflect to you your estimated monthly base rate. So you don't have to do the multiplication. You just need to enter in the per child rate. Again, we will verify what the per child rate is when we are processing the application. But a part of the language from our funders around this money is that when you apply, you have to acknowledge that the amount that is being estimated meets or exceeds your average monthly expenses. So that's why we're required to do this piece in the application. And so once the application reflects your estimated monthly base rate, that is our projection of what your average monthly expenses should be based on the number of children in your program and the per child rate that applies to your program size and your full-time versus part-time status. And so the application will ask you then, is the estimated expense amount adequate to cover your documented average monthly operating expenses? And then you will answer yes or no. If you say no, you have two choices. You can say it is not, but I wish to accept the amount that is displayed here. I'll go ahead and take the funding and you can continue with the application piece. If you want to, you can select the other option, which is I wish to submit documentation of my monthly expenses for further consideration. I want to remind folks that given the amount of money that we have, and given that we have to serve every eligible provider in the state. No one can have a total base award amount in excess of $400,000. So that breaks down, when you divide that out by 6 months, that breaks down to $66,666.67 is the maximum monthly base rate that we are able to give a provider. So if you have a program where you serve 250, 300 children, your average monthly expenses may exceed the estimated monthly base rate for you, which would be $66,666.67. But we cannot provide funding in excess of that amount. We don't have enough. So that is in the guide, but I wanted us to touch on that here. So there are a few centers in the state that are so large that their average monthly operating expenses may exceed the amount that we are able to share. So I just wanted to touch on that here. But you do have those two options if the estimated monthly base rate does not meet your expense, your documented monthly expenses. You can either accept the award as is, or you can submit documentation for further consideration. And when you look in the guide, it gives some additional information about the documentation piece. That's all the questions that the application asks you to provide data for. The remaining statements, the remaining section of the application are the certifications and attestations that sort of give the rules and the acknowledgement about receipt of funds and what your responsibilities are related to that, namely being that you will use the money for allowable expenses, that you will maintain your documentation about how you've used your money, that you acknowledge that, you know, this is federal dollars and we will have to monitor its use, and there may be on-site monitoring that occurs, and all of these attestations and acknowledgements that you'll need to make in order to receive the funding. Then you will be asked to sign the application in the DocuSign, and that is it. That is the documentation from top to bottom. Again, there are guides on the website that take each one of these questions and offer guidance to you about what the question is asking. But if any questions remain for you while you're working on the application, because we are using DocuSign, you can leave the application and return to it and pick up right where you have left off. So if you need to pause and ask a question at Childcare Strong at mdhs.ms.gov, you certainly can do so and then return without having lost your progress so far in the application. So I'm going to post the links from earlier in the chat here in just a few minutes. But we will go ahead and look at any questions that you have that we have not covered yet. I want to remind you again that we can't really answer program specific questions. We can answer questions about the process. But if there's something that is specific to you or to your program, if you'll just route those questions to us, then we'll be happy to get back to you with a response that's tailored to your particular situation. Okay, let me look at this. Okay, our first question is whether an application is needed if you own multiple centers. for each location? And the answer to that is yes. So for every license number you hold, you need to submit a separate application. The next question is, we are part-time during the school year and full-time during school holiday breaks. If you are not providing 6 or more hours of care at least 5 days a week between December and May, then you would be a part-time provider. There's another question about training and assistance to providers on completing the application. We do have the guides online. We will have this walkthrough posted online. And then the Childcare Strong email address is a place where providers need assistance. They can go to request that, and we can provide provider-specific assistance. There's another question about what license exempt means. And if you look in the guide, we have defined each of those provider types there for you. So what a license program is, what a license exempt program is, what a relative provider is, and what a non-relative provider is. All of that is spelled out in the guide for you. And that decision is made at the Department of Health. They have rules around programs that do not require licensure. So that designation comes directly from the Department of Health. Okay, you guys, I'm just reading through some questions. Some of these are provider specific, so I'm gonna float through those. So another question is, where would a provider indicate that they are going to use these funds for COVID-related reimbursements? I am assuming that that means for a period of time prior to when this act was signed. If that's wrong, if you'll just shoot another question, then I'll be happy to address what your actual question is. But you are allowed to go back and reimburse yourself for expenses that were not covered by other federal funding. So booster shot funds, paycheck protection funds, adult child care food program funds, anything that was not covered by those other federal funds, you can go back and use these funds to reimburse yourself for expenses that you incurred during that time if you choose to. And so on your application, you can just sort of indicate the area where you would use the area that those funds would go to reimburse. So it still has, you can go back and reimburse yourself for expenses that occur before March 11th, 2021, as long as they are within these allowable expense categories. So you do still have to spend them in line with the guidance for allowable expenses for this act, but you can go back prior to March 11th, 2021 and reimburse yourself for some of those expenses. Okay, how do you know the SBI rate for your area? on the website, there is a link that will take you to the website where you can view that. Hold on just a second, folks. Let me change my view so we can look at some of that. Okay, can you all see the Childcare? I don't want to make y'all busy. Can you all see the Childcare Strong website page now? Sharonda, can you see it? Because I can see your face on my screen. Okay, thank you. So I'm going to try not to scroll too quickly because it can sort of make folks busy. If I want to point out as I'm rolling down there, when we're talking about the use of funds, there is a very brief, abbreviated explanation of allowable uses of funds. But if you click on these read more, then it gives you more detail about what you are allowed to use your funds on. And so this is going to be what you'll rely on when making decisions about your funding. You can, all the detail that we were given through the language of the act and our guidance from our federal funders is right here for you. So this is all the information that we have about what you're allowed to spend your funds on. The FAQs that are on the website right here, we will take questions that we received today, and as our Childcare Strong email address receives questions, when we start to get trends and questions, we will be updating the FAQs here. So I just wanted to drive you to this section here because it will give you, we will keep updating this section just like we will any of the other areas. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. This is the decision tree that I mentioned before about whether, how to tell if you are eligible for the funding. You just answer questions, yes or no, and it tells you if you end up over here on this green eligible space, then you meet those qualifications. If you are routed over here, then you will not. But like I said, the application itself is designed to flag when you answer any of these types of questions in a way that would lead you through the decision tree over here to the ineligibility side. And so you're not likely to get all the way through the submission of an application and then we come back and tell you that for some reason you're ineligible. If you provide the information that is on record at health, either through registration or licensing to us, and you're able to submit your documentation, then if all of that information that you input is correct, then you will likely be eligible for these funds. So I don't want there to be a lot of nervousness about an eligibility decision, because as I said, if you're putting in the accurate information that is on record with the Department of Health, then the application is designed to make sure that you are alerted if you make an entry that would indicate that you were ineligible. So I'll show you again where that is. Here's where the application is. Here's the link to the online application. And then you have the application guide right here. And then these are the statements with the check marks underneath the applications that I was telling you about. And the very first one talks about the guidelines for eligibility. And right here where it says click here to find out if your provider type is eligible, that's where that decision tree is located. Let's look at the application guide. I want to show that to you as well. So as you can see, it takes every one of the questions that is in the application. So for those of you that need a paper copy of the application, you can print this out and route this through whatever approval channels you need. This is every single question on the application. And then it includes instructions for how to answer all of those questions. So that guide is here, and it's also available in Spanish and Vietnamese. I don't want to rush through. So the application, the language in the act, this was a question in the chat. What about the bonus amounts? So the language in the act asks that providers acknowledge that the flat rate or the base rate that we would award to you is sufficient to cover those monthly operating expenses. We have elected to also provide bonuses to providers who are serving the most vulnerable families and who are operating in the most vulnerable areas. And so those are additional monies that you would be eligible for, but you're only required to acknowledge what the base rate means to your monthly operating expenses. So when you submit your application to us and our team reviews to make sure that all the information matches with our record, our database records, you will receive an email that indicates that you have all of your award information. And in that, it will also indicate to you how much you would be getting for any of the bonuses for which you're eligible. So the application is only asking you to acknowledge your base rate. Your award amount, your award notification will include any additional bonuses that you are eligible for based on your provider type and how you are operating. This website right here that is available shows you it takes you to the map where you can figure your score. You'll need to put in your 9-digit zip code in order to get the most accurate reading for your program. For instance, if I put in 39211, it takes me here. And it gives, this is the score. This is the SVI score for 39211. If you look at this map, see, and oops, sorry, y'all, I'm driving kind of crooked. You can see that within small areas, there are changes in color, which mean changes in scores. So you really want to get your 9-digit zip code to find out your eligibility. This score right here is a 0.75, while one street over could mean a score of a 0.95. So that 9-digit zip code is the one that you want to enter if you're looking for your score here. That can help you identify what your SVI bonus will be. I can put this link in the chat as well. Let me make a note to add this. Yes. Okay, you guys, I'm sorry. I am not as good at Dr. Allgood is watching the clock, but we are at time, and I do actually have a 12 o'clock meeting that I'm going to be late to now. So what I will do is when I send you all the link to this recording, I will do like I have done in the past. And in that email, I will include the links that we have discussed here today in that email. So then you'll have it and don't have to try to grab it out of the chat since we need to close down the chat here pretty soon. So once the recording for this is ready, we'll be emailing you the link to that recording like we've done in the past. And in the body of that email, I will put a reference, a list of all of the links that we have gone through with our program today here so that you can bookmark them or pull them out and print them off or whatever you need to do to hang on to them for future use. And again, if any questions come up for you about this funding, specifically this funding, you'll just email Childcare Strong at mdhs.ms.gov, and that will get you right to our team of folks that is waiting to process applications and answer these questions and provide you with that backup assistance. So I want to thank everybody again for your attention. We got a lot of really great questions and we had a lot of really good participation in the chat. And so I'd like to thank you all very much for that. Please keep an eye on our webpage because we are continuing to update information for you. But as of right now, everything you need to be successful in making an application is available on that website. But we are here to help you if you hit any stumbles. So don't be afraid to reach out to us through email. I want to thank everybody for all of the hard work that they're doing out there and all the dedication it's taken to make it this far through COVID. It was not easy and it's still not easy. And we want to recognize that and let you know how much we appreciate that. So thank you all for all that you're out there doing. We will be sending this recording out to you hopefully by the end of the week. It takes a little bit of time for this to process, so keep an eye on your emails for that. And until then, everybody be well.